What's up, Authentic fam? Welcome back to Authentic Alphas. I have another guest with me, fellow content creator. What is your name and how you doing today?
Okay, my name is Swayla EXO. I'm doing really good. I am the person over Purple Pill Perspectives, and I'm doing good.
Okay, that's awesome. So you've been on the channel before, so welcome back. Appreciate you. Forgive my scarf. I'm not in Dubai, guys. I wish I was in Dubai, but I'm not. This isn't to block the sand. I had my dreads twisted, so I got to keep them insulated for a minute. All right. But I guess the first question is, are you familiar with Andrew Tate?
Yes, not all the way, but for the most part, yes.
Just the tip?
Notes part, yes.
Just the tip?
Yes.
All right, cool. All right, so today we are here to respond to a Tate video, or a Tate clip, actually, just a clip of an interview. And it's a new concept I'm trying out because I spoke to Tate and he was like, how can I help? And this is one of the ideas I came up with, and he greenlit it. So if it does well, I'll be asking various females how they feel about Tate. And let's get to the bottom of this. Is he a misogynist or not? So I'm going to ask you that right out the gate, simply because you've heard of him before. You've seen some of his stuff. So what do you think as far as the misogyny accusation?
I would say I feel like he's exercising his freedom of speech. I'm dancing around the answer because I have heard other things that I haven't fully investigated. Apparently some harem, bearing of arms, a whole bunch of wild stuff. But from what I've seen and the small videos I've seen, I will say I don't think so. I think he's starting a conversation. There's a different way men converse with women versus when they converse with men. When you guys converse with women, it's a lot more soft, it's a lot more subtle, but with men it's straightforward, straight out the gate. And I think because his audience is more men, I think he's just, practicing his freedom of speech. That's
Just
what I
speak, basically speaking our language. All right, so she answered,
Yes.
Question number one was, how do you feel about Tate, and did you think he was a misogynist? So, all right, we got that answer.
Now, disclaimer, I haven't seen everything, so.
No. I mean, just
don't chop up this video, y'all, and say, oh, she's not, just from surface, what I've seen.
Well, that's the question. The question is just kind of the input that the media is giving us. Because most women haven't heard of Tate, so this is, I think, is going to be a little bit different. I think most women haven't, because I've been asking girls, and most girls, about 80% of them are like, no. And even the ones that are like, yeah, I've kind of seen it, they're not too familiar. So we're going to play a clip right now, and then we're just going to respond to that specifically, and I'll get your feedback on that specifically, because we could be here till tomorrow going through Andrew Tate clips and then some. All right?
What kind of man are you?
What's the spectrum? I need you to quantify it for me. Who's at the bottom and who's at the top?
For me, I just say top like a high value man.
What would you say constitutes a high value man?
A high value man is someone that is successful financially. I'd say it's someone that's got a lot of integrity and good morals, that is very well respected, is very sure of himself, but also is a very family orientated man. That's for me, a high value man.
Okay, that's fine. I'm a high value man.
He's very sure of himself. Yeah, so what's a high value man for you?
Pretty much basically what you said. I think a high value man is a capable man. I think capability can be judged in many different ways, and capability is something which varies depending on the situation. You need a man who is capable of doing lots of different things that he doesn't do very often. You need a man who's capable of being violent when the time appears. Of course, you need a man who's capable of making money. You need a man who can kill somebody and hold a baby in the same day. You need a man with a very broad spectrum of qualities and assets and capabilities. The most difficult thing about being a man is most people, when I say most people, let me change that, most females don't respect how difficult it is to become a high-value man. Because to become a high-value man, you need to have so many different qualities and so many different capabilities. It's a very difficult thing to do. You need to be funny and smart and charismatic and interesting with stories and strong and rich with a nice car and a nice apartment. Whereas to be a high-value female, you need to be hot. If you're nice, it's a bonus, but it's not even that necessary.
That's it.
If you're a pretty female, even if you're a piece of shit person, you're going to get messages on Instagram.
Yeah.
Whereas if you're a good-looking man who lives with his mother, you ain't getting any messages.
Not really.
I think so. I think that if you're a good-looking man, that's all you have going for you, I don't think you're going to succeed very well in life. Yeah. I know there's very, very pretty girls who have nothing else going for them that manage to do very, very well.
Yeah.
Do you play chess?
I'm okay at it.
But if you look at the chessboard, right, the queen gets to jump all over the board, and the king has to move one square at a time, and I think that's done very purposefully. If you go to Monaco and you see a yacht, and you see a man on that yacht, he had to work his entire life, and network his entire life, and get up early, and deal with stress, and tax problems, and police problems, and work his ass off to buy that boat. What did the girl have to do? The girl who's on that boat, the 19-year-old Ukrainian. She had to get a message on Instagram, boom. So the man moves one square at a time and the queen just jumps on board. This is the point. Female beauty is extremely valuable.
The thing is, there's a difference between a high-value man and a high-value woman. For me, a high-value woman is what kind of mother is she?
But the point is that to initially attract a mate, females, the most important thing for them is their looks, whereas a man, I think, is his status, and status is a far more varied spectrum than looks alone. Being good-looking alone does not make you a high-stakes male. To be a high-stakes male, you need to have a bunch of things. Initially, if you're just pretty, you're going to get attention. Whereas
All right, I'm going to stop him there because the rest is kind of just her response. And I think she missed the point. I don't know if she's missing the point for the sake of conversation or if she really was like it was going over her head with the point. But go ahead and tell me first, do you agree or disagree?
I fully agree.
Okay.
I fully agree. And this is coming from what he said, attractive female. Knowing the privileges that I have, I don't necessarily have to have the same thing that men have when it comes to being high value. Mm-hmm. And that is the raw and uncut truth of it. It is what it is. Like.
Right. Okay. So
I agree.
You acknowledge your pretty privilege.
Yes.
Basically.
Fully.
Okay. But how does that pretty privilege, or I shouldn't say your pretty privilege, but how does your acknowledging the differences between men and women and how we view their value, and then acknowledging your own advantages and pretty privilege in being a female, how does that, if in any way, does it manifest or translate when dealing with guys? In other words, are you empathetic to guys' situation? Do you give them any type of consideration for that, or just like, yeah, I understand that that's how it is. Oh well, you know what I mean?
Well, you know what? It's a split, because although you have typical female nature when it comes to dating and finding a mate, it is a bit cutthroat when it comes to men, because naturally, I usually say we go back to animal instincts. We still want the best chance of getting the alpha in the back, right? Mm-hmm. That's just natural female nature. But then you do have your logical side, which I do actually have more compassion and I understand. That's mainly because I was raised in a more masculine role. So I see day to day outside of my privilege what men have to go through to, say, build a business or go through things like that. I know it's not easy trying to do it in your 20s, just now being established in 30s. I see that. So I would say it's half and half. Mm-hmm. For me as a woman, say I'm at school right now. So I see how much it is for a man to kind of struggle getting his education and things like that. But say, put me in a different realm where I am on a date, where it's just like, oh, okay, well, what are you doing? You know, you go through that process where you're asking, like, okay, what are you about? What do you got going for yourself? Naturally, as much as I hate to admit it, naturally a woman is going to be a little more like, okay, checking the boxes. Do you have this or don't you have this? Because that determines the experience she's going to have when she's dating you. Mm-hmm. So I would say a little half and half. I am very considerate, but there are certain things that if a man doesn't have going for himself at the age that I am now, I can be supportive, but I do have certain things that I'm not willing to budge on, I would say.
Okay. Well, I wanna expound on that a little bit, without straying too far from the concept. But I do feel like it also elaborates on Tate's overall point. If anything, I think I'm throwing a little bit of kind of the reason why, or one of the reasons why that is the way it is, and it makes sense being that way. I think that when it comes to what women are dating and what a man is dating as far as getting out of the interaction, I think it's different. Therefore, it makes sense why those would be the requirements. For example, how you just pointed out, the woman is kind of like trying to check those boxes, and you did a very good job of articulating that it's because she wants to know what is going to be the overall experience in dealing with this guy. And I like that, because what it is that women date the the experience or the lifestyle of that guy. So if I'm dealing with this guy, what am I going to be exposed to? Is he going to be taking me to improvs? Is he going to be taking me on trips? Is he going to be taking me to meet interesting people? Is he going to be taking me to 5-star restaurants? How am I going to dress for these outings? What am I going to learn? What am I going to experience? What's going to be new? Whereas for the guy, the experience that he's looking for is the actual female as far as head to toe. What is going to be like to have sex with this particular girl? What kind of status or how is her beauty going to complement me when we go out and she's on my arm? So that I think is how guys should be kind of looking at it to make sense, and then women also, so that they're not so triggered and offended by the differences in what we see as valuable in the opposite sex, because in turn it's a reflection of what we plan to get from interacting with that person.
Like this. Okay, so when it comes to, say I am a female anywhere from late 20s or early 20s to 30, right? Just that 10-year gap. So say I'm in college, maybe not working as much, but I can pull myself together very well. I don't have to have that many finances to go on a date, mainly because most men, when you go on a date,
they pay.
Women is taken care of. That's number one. Two, I don't have to be well established, because in the nutshell, most men don't care what you have going on. As long as you're decent, you pull yourself together, you'll be surprised. The higher you get in your career is actually less desirable, from what I'm understanding. So when it comes down to that, I don't have to be established. I don't have to have that much in my bank account. As for a guy, now if I was to go on a date with him, he is paying. So for the most part, if he doesn't have his finances in order, that means whether we're going to a nice steakhouse dinner or we're going to the movies. That determines whether I get to look and feel like a woman when I go on a date, meaning am I getting taken places where I get dressed up, put heels on as a woman, or am I putting kicks and jeans on? Also, when it comes down to that, it's just like a man, like say I'm attractive and the man is attractive. I can be attractive and still have doors open for me, and unfortunately that's just the harsh reality of how it is. Now, if a man is attractive, you can get more, but the woman's going to most likely end up paying in that situation. I'm being honest. It's just like most attractive men that don't have finances together, you'll find that their attractiveness is what they have handsome privilege, if you will. The woman pays, but that's less desirable. No woman wants to do that, and I'm just being very cutthroat and honest with you. So that's a less desirable experience. So you guys do have to be established in a way. You do have to have the things, because that heightens your chances with women. And then, like I said, as long as I dress nice, I smell good, I know how to carry myself, I know, just how to conduct myself, and then, I have some form of sex appeal and stuff like that, I will not have any problems dating. Honestly.
Right. Well, yeah.
If you don't have a car, it's like, oh, well, I'll come pick you up.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I'll fly you out. I'll send whatever for you. I'll send the driver to pick you up from the airport so they can carry your luggage. You don't have to, worry about Uber. If I'm at work, I'll put you in a nice hotel. You'll go do the whole spa, massage, nail thing while you're waiting on me. I'm just telling you how high status dudes roll, guys. I mean, because I'm on my way there, but I know these guys.
Pay for a man to get his hair cut for him to be presentable on a date with you. No, she's gonna expect you to do that yourself. Get your car clean,
right.
That. I'm not gonna be cash apping you money to get ready for your date with me. See how it's different with the women.
Well, I mean, I try to tell guys all the time. At the end of the day, we're animals. And yeah, it's biology, but we do have this brain. We have this problem solver here, guys. So there are actually ways to kind of finesse certain things when you're using your noggin, if you're social and you know how to network. Because where does the privilege come from? So pretty privilege really comes from people that have power, primarily men that have power, giving concessions to attractive women because they want the possibility or the opportunity to sleep with them, to have sex with them. So that privilege is contingent on the person affording the privilege thinking they can get something in exchange. The possibility I could sleep with this chick. Now, for a guy, you can create privilege, but again, it's going to be contingent on who's giving that power, who's giving that privilege. So as a guy, if you can make yourself useful and valuable to people that determine what doors are going to open and what doors are going to stay locked, you can actually create privilege for yourself. So it's like, hey, listen, I'm going to take you to this particular restaurant. It's a 5-star restaurant. Guess what? I don't got that kind of money, but I know the owner of that restaurant, and he knows me. And the reason why he knows me is because I add some type of value to his life. So when I want to take a young lady there, all I have to do is make a call and say, hey, I'm coming at this. And he makes sure that I get a table, I get a reservation. He makes sure that the meal's either on the house or it's significantly discounted. Now I can give this woman this experience, even though all the other men that are giving women this experience in this particular establishment, they have far more money than me and far more status. So,
well, that right there, you're still subscribing to what women expect from men.
Of course.
Even if you don't have finances, you have resources, that's considered a resource.
Exactly.
So in its own way, if you have that, you still are some form of valuable.
Exactly.
Rather than a man that has no finances and no resources.
Exactly.
Whatsoever, or no idea how to even utilize his resources.
Right. That's what I'm trying to tell you. So it's like, listen, either you can afford to take this chick to Aruba, or your cousin works for American Airlines and they can get you those buddy passes. So I'm just, I'm not encouraging guys to be underachievers. I'm encouraging guys to still try to operate at a high function, a high level of performance, even during that in between. Because notice she mentioned age. So for women, they're coming right out the gate with that value. Once they come into sexual maturity, they're coming out the gate with that value. Men, we have to build it. So for the men who don't just want to sit it out until they get to that level organically, there are kind of ways to still have these good experiences in between while you're building yourself up and while you're networking. So let me get to the final question, guys, because she's like, doing her education thing, her higher learning. So the last question is, the second to last question is, the third to last question. Do you find Andrew Tate attractive?
It's two ways. Animalistic nature, not necessarily my type, but it's not ugly. He's not ugly at all. It's just not what I would typically go for. But mentally wise, yes and no. Yes, because he knows what he's talking about, but you have to understand with some women, not all women, when you come off a little too aggressive, too egotistical, it's a turn off for us. It is, because we're thinking that that's going to be your attitude and experience with us. So I'm just saying there's certain traits that he has that's not necessarily attractive to me, but the fact that he does know what he wants, the fact that he does know what he's talking about, I can't help but to agree and acknowledge that this is a man with intellect, which I am attracted to. So,
right. Well,
it's some.
There's some finesse there. So I want guys to know, because there are a lot of young guys out here that are like idolizing him and trying to model themselves after him in their behavior and their demeanor and their speech. And
Well, I'll say this.
Not gonna work for you.
Intellect, drop the ego. Not for every woman,
Well,
but most women, we like to know that it's going to be a good experience, because that's why he does get the misogynistic title to him. It's not necessarily everything he's saying. It's his energy.
It's the delivery.
It's the matter of fact. Like, I don't give F energy.
All intentional, by the way. He's told me he's actually not like that in person at all. Like he's the least egotistical and arrogant person in real life. So he's already admitted to me that is the delivery system that makes him so controversial and gets him those viral moments of exposure. So it's very calculated, is what I'm trying to say. And I just want guys to know that I'm not defending Tate. I'm saying that as to say, don't model that aspect of him thinking it's going to work. Because even he knows to tone that down when he's dealing with people in real life, especially women, which is why the women that meet him instantly fall in love with him, even if prior they thought, the biggest asshole in the world based on what they saw on social media. So when he's talking publicly like that, he's talking to men, which is why he's turning that aspect of it up, because that's what the guys are gravitating towards, is that hyper masculinity. But in real life, it's not necessary, especially when hey, listen, I have more money than you. Hey, I can beat your ass. And hey, I get plenty of women. So in real life, the hyper part is not necessary, because it's like, I already know I have more money. Right. I already know I have more money.
Most alpha males, when it comes to women, we know them off the bat. You don't have to announce yourself.
Right.
You don't have to overly pump out your chest and say all these things. usually when you have the resources, you have the finances, you have the level of protection, you have the genetics, whatever, they're usually calm because they know what they have. It's not necessarily a big announcement.
Exactly.
You know, so I get it what he's doing for men, because most men, they do need to see that image. But for women, not knowing him outside of social media, it is kind of a repellent, and it is a form of intimidation in this way. Even if a woman does want to mess with him, I will say this, because how he is online,
Right.
because the reputation that he has, she may not tell her friends about it.
Of course.
Because
Of course.
it's bad for
Right.
her image, and women
Of course.
don't care about our image. So
Yeah, that's why I try to tell guys to do the reverse. You know, when you're dealing with your in-person interactions with women, you have to do the reverse. Make sure that her friends get the best the representative of you. They get the best. Right, they get the politically correct version of you. That way, you can be a dick behind closed doors when it's just you and her, and she'll tolerate that. But you have to project a different image to the public so that she can feel comfortable dating you or feel comfortable messing with you. Because one thing women don't want to deal with is people complaining to them about their choice. So even if they like the guy, they'll be like, I'm tired of hearing people tell me, why are you messing with that guy? Why are you with him? Why, you know? So you got to be careful with that,
I will
guys.
say this, one last thing, because this is a man's channel, and you guys do need to know, the more argumentative and problematic and chaotic you guys seem, to us, that's more feminine traits. We do not take that as masculine whatsoever, so it's also a turn off in that way, because we're thinking, okay, are you going to argue with me? Are you going to be problematic with me, chaotic with me? And when we're with a man, we shouldn't feel like we're going tit for tat as we would another woman. So
Right.
something to think about when you guys are making this podcast, when women are watching you. Now, men, y'all can do what y'all want, but when women are watching you, it is a turn off. We do feel like, okay, there's something going on there. So.
Yeah, well, I think the mistake that guys make when they're having a disagreement with a woman is that they're under the impression that they need to agree. And I think the faster that you can get to, hey, listen, I understand that's how you feel about it, and I get that. What can we do? Like, what's a healthy medium? What's a middle? And even be willing to give a little more than she is, and that within itself is masculine, because it's like saying, listen, I'm the man, so I can afford to take the hit. All right, if it's gonna make you more comfortable, and I'm willing to do that for you. And see, if you don't know how to do that properly, you'd be simping if you don't understand the terms in which I'm trying to present that. You're not presenting that as in I'm weak and I'm going to succumb to her. You're presenting that as I'm above whatever it is that you're talking about. Like, I'm above whatever your issue is, so I'm going to come down to your level to accommodate you because you're the lady and I care.
It's going to come off as giving a form of solution, because
Right.
women, we bring our problems to you guys. We expect it is what it is for you guys to bring the solutions.
Exactly.
And it's also going to show that you have leadership skills. So it's not always going to be, even if it is you're above the situation or something like that, depending on how you come at it, it would actually might make her more submissive to you, because you're
Right.
showing that she can lead and take the lead in it.
If it's done
Instead
right,
of
if it's right.
arguing.
If it's done right. And I think the problem that this younger generation is having is that these things aren't being defined for them. So they're conflating things. So it's like, oh, well, that's simping because he's giving resources and attention. It's like, no. Misappropriation of resources and attention is simping. But if you're literally saying to a woman, okay, I sort of kind of heard what your issue is, so I tell you what, I'll just go ahead and give you the money for this, this, and this, so that you can give me your full attention and make yourself available to me on this time. That's not simping. That's saying, listen, I'm going to take care of whatever that is that you're talking about.
Provision.
Right, so that you can now get on my program and do what I want you to do. And if it's done properly, just like you said, the woman now will become submissive, because she'll be like, oh, well, if that's the case,
I ain't got to do nothing.
right,
Yeah.
agreeing with you is better for me. Agreeing with you goes smoother for me. But when the woman is the one saying, you'll do this, do that, give me this, give me that, let me manipulate this guy into getting what I want, now the way the resources are being given is incorrect. So now it's simping, and now she's in control, and now the respect factor for you is lost. So it's the way you give your resources determines whether or not she's going to respect you or not, and the way whether or not she's going to appreciate you. But let me hurry up and get on to the next one. So okay, so you said you did explain the whether or not you find him attractive, but the second part of that question is, would you consider him a high value male?
Let me see. Not knowing everything about him, just the surface bullet points. Man of intellect. It seems like he knows what he's doing. Not necessarily a pushover as far as energy. From what I understand, he does have some level of finances. Genetically fit. Yeah, I would in a way.
Okay. And I think he's probably eccentric because he employs a lot of people. So there are a lot of people depending on him for income. Okay. The next thing is, do you think he should be banned from social media?
Disclaimer, once again, I have not seen the harem videos. I have not seen the arms videos or anything like that. But just off some of the things he's saying, I don't think so. There's too many channels, and that's the purpose of my channel as well. There's too many channels where women are able to say what they want to say. You have equal rights for LGBT, you have equal rights for just whatever else. But when it comes to this section, it's just like the moment you guys say how you feel, it's considered sensitive content. It's considered something that needs to be canceled. And realistically, just like you guys have to sit here and listen to the raw truth of what women feel, the only way we're going to educate ourselves and know how to handle you guys and know how to interact with you guys is if we hear the raw truth, and you can't necessarily censor that. It may not be pleasant to hear. It may hurt a little feelings, but I always say, hurt us with the truth, then comfort us with a lie. You guys just playing it safe, doing the blue pill, super soft approach, that's not getting us anywhere.
Nope.
You guys are not satisfied with us, and we are not satisfied with you. So somebody needs to start the conversation.
And it opens up the door for the corrupt, because the corrupt people could take advantage now, because they're like, oh, the truth ain't being told. Let me get up in here and trick people now. Let me go here and manipulate people.
Pandering.
Exactly. Now the bad boys can run amok. And all the gold diggers can take advantage of dudes because ain't nobody calling it out. Okay, last question. I'm gonna let you go. What are your thoughts on freedom of speech, but specifically on social media platforms? Like, do you think these are private companies? They should be able to shut people up. Do you think people should be able to say what they want, but not necessarily on social media? Or do you think social media should be like any other form of expression where you can pretty much say what you got on your mind?
I feel like when it comes to this, you have two different forms. So you have the corporation and you have the individual. As a corporation, they have every right to say what is said and not said on their platform, because how they come off to other people is their interaction with their clients or whoever they're making money from. So in that sense, YouTube has every right to censor. Instagram, Facebook has every right because that's their platform. But at the same time, I feel like it should be able to be allowed, because think about this, when you're at school and when you're in a workplace, you're not able to talk about politics, religion, things like that. And it's just like, this is a way where we connect with people around the world. Like, I'm in California, you're in Miami. I would never know how people in Miami feel or think if it wasn't for things like YouTube and stuff like that. So I feel like we're adults, we're grown. You slap a parental advisory on it, we should be able to say what we want to say. And there's a lot more, I would just say, politely and politically correct. It's a lot more extreme conversations going on outside of relationships that, when it comes to just race, class, things like that, that's being allowed. So why can't this conversation be allowed?
Okay.
That's how I feel.
Do you think that the censorships and the banning are blatantly biased, or do you think it's all business? Okay, because I feel that it's a little bit more on men than women.
Women can say men ain't whatever,
Right.
Doesn't get banned. A man says, you know what, women need to literally not even say, oh, women not this, women not that. They can literally say, you know what, women need to step it up. We're not accepting this bullshit anymore. And that is a more positive approach than what you hear, oh, all men are trash, blah, blah, blah. And he will get canceled.
Right, exactly. All right, well,
because
listen.
The culture has to deal with emotions and has to deal with, oh, I feel offended, but it's just like, using that language, but forget your feelings. Like, it's a conversation we're having. It needs to be had.
I think we license people, or I think the mainstream media license people to be offended by certain things and, conditioned to accept other things. I mean, you could just look at children. You can observe children in school when the teachers are female, when the female teachers are outnumbering the male teachers, or it's all female teachers, you can even see how the children are incentivized to react. So, for example, if you reward snitching, then little kids are going to be tattletelling all over the place. They're going to be coming in, Miss, she, because you're basically conditioning them on what to complain about and what to accept. So that's kind of the issue. So I think we're doing the same thing, or we're experiencing the same thing as adults. They're almost telling people what to be outraged by, what to find offensive, what to complain about. And for example, you wouldn't find people, whether it's women or not, you wouldn't find people reporting channels and trying to get people deplatformed if that wasn't a thing. Like if you weren't banning people and deplatforming people, then people wouldn't think, "Ooh, I don't like this person, so let me get a bunch of other people together and we're going to complain about this person until they get removed." If they weren't actually removing people, then that wouldn't be your response. It would just be, "I don't like this person, I hate what they have to say, so I'm going to turn it off." Not, "I'm going to get that person removed so that they can't speak anymore."
Look, I'll say this, and I'm definitely going to say for your channel, because I know you speak on open topics in my channel as well. I came from the 90s.
Right.
A lot of things we said, we were built different. Now you have soft parenting, you have all this stuff, anything can be considered hate, crime,
Exactly.
blah, blah, blah. I grew up on Family Guy, South Park, King, like things like that. That shows, if that's what we're watching, imagine the level of conversations we're having.
Exactly.
So I'm not necessarily adjusted to this cancel culture. I feel like now for the people in my age group, we're playing nice more because we still want to get the message out and we have to comply. But I don't agree with it. Once again, sugarcoating stuff is not going to solve the problem whatsoever. And like I said, the moment someone is like, "Oh, you hurt my feelings," or "Oh, I'm offended by this," then it's just like, "Oh, must cancel, must do this, must do that." And it's not because of what they're saying. It's the more people that are offended by it, which the truth is offensive sometimes, the less money people make. So when you get down to that part, it's not even about, I don't feel censoring and making people stop what they're saying. It's the simple fact that there's so many people offended, and when they're offended, they don't make money. They don't pull out their wallets because it's like, "Oh, I'm not going to support this person. I'm not." This is a whole different generation. I'm not used to that. I'm used to just straightforward. It is what it is. But I do remember when they started cancel culture, maybe early 2000s. That's when cancel culture happened, and everything was politically correct now. So
yeah, they revving it up. Yep. All right. Well, I appreciate you. I want to ask you about your thoughts on makeup on another date. So when you have time again, I would love to have the discussion about women wearing makeup. Is it fair to men? Is it an unfair advantage that women have in the dating market? Should there be things that guys can use to enhance their appearance? So we'll have that conversation another time, right?
I like that one. I'll do it.
All right. I appreciate you. Go ahead, get your learn on, get your textbook on. Check out our channel, guys. Purple Pill Perspective, and we'll catch you on the next one. All right.
All right. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you.